Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Rich Ryan, bringing you a TORC talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the course race map for Spartan race Vegas, Arizona situation. So my friend and TORC athlete Lacey Burgess joins me to talk about some different strategies to help throughout the race. We're going to talk about the topography, talk about some different strategies to go into different obstacles, and just really what to expect leading into it. So I hope to see you out there, and I hope you enjoyed this TORC talk. We got Lacey Burgess and Annie Dube here. We're going to talk about the Vegas Super. We're going to talk about, we won't touch too much on the sprint. It is weird that kind of separated it out. So this is a new map format that I've seen. Do you guys remember it looking like this ever?
No, it's definitely new.
Yeah, and it's just like anything that's new, it's hard. So there's going to be pushback. Everyone's going to hate it, I'm sure. But we're going to do our best to navigate through it. The one thing, there's no, like, on the old maps, you could at least kind of see like a satellite view of what the terrain might look like. You know, like if there was water. This is just like a blue line.
I know. It looks like they made it cheaper or something, if that's even a thing in like software of making maps. It looks like cheaper. Maybe
it has something to do with that. Like, and it's very much featured the text of the obstacles is the main feature of this map. Like reading of the obstacles, which we will be able to do very easily. So I guess that's a positive. So we're going to talk about the Super. We're going to kind of run through things and the way it looks. So are there any obstacles in here that aren't here? Did you guys notice if there's anything that you were looking to see? I think we have the full gamut, right? That would be normally at a Super.
Yeah, it looks like everything's there to me. I can see. Wait, is there still no sandbag carries? Is that just not a thing anymore?
We're just good on the sandbags. It doesn't look like it, huh? And that was Annie, when you did Jacksonville, did the bucket carry seem long to kind of make up for that, or was it just a race with one less carry?
I would say for a sprint, it was probably a little bit longer than usual. But it was totally flat and non-technical. So like it was really breezy versus like what we're used to seeing with the carries. So I don't know. It wasn't too bad.
Nothing really stuck out. Like they didn't try to make up for anything.
No, not at all. Like last year in Jacksonville, that sandbag carry was gnarly. Like people were sliding and falling and, you know, I didn't, nothing like that this year.
Yeah. So we don't
like, are they not doing sandbag carries though till the end of the year? Like nobody knows yet.
I don't know, Annie, we were talking about before, right? Wasn't there something like a CDC recommendation about porous material?
I have no idea.
Did I make that up? I may have made this up.
It sounded really smart.
It did.
Like legit.
Yeah. But it still doesn't, the surfaces, I don't know. It's probably just something that will at some point need to go away and the sandbags will be back. I prefer a sandbag over a bucket. Lacey, what do you think? Yeah, same?
Definitely. Well, I feel like I'd rather have a couple carries in here too. I don't really think that it's an advantage not having one in my case, but oh well.
Yeah. And at Jacksonville, Annie, your carry was second fastest on Strava, I think, and you dropped it. So
nice.
So your bucket carry is super strong.
Heck yeah.
So Lacey, you've done this course before, at least at a similar venue. So just kind of talk about what the ground is going to look like, what we're going to be running over, just so I can kind of set the groundwork, for lack of better terms, for what the whole course is going to kind of look like. So what is the terrain like in terms of being technical? Like, was it rocky? Like, what is it kind of looking like?
I think it's a pretty good mix. Like I said, I haven't done it. It's been about 3 years, but from what I remember, it's sand, a little bit of sand here and there. And then it's a little rocky. Like I remember our barbed wire crawl was like super rocky and my body was like completely bloody by the end of it. Like I was like rolling in rocks, running in sand, rolling in rocks. So I think that does absorb a lot of your energy, both of those things. But other than that, I mean, it's not sand the whole way. It's just kind of, from what I remember, a little spurts of it here and there, like enough to slow you down and absorb some of your energy. And
so it's like
like
loose sand? Is it hard? It's like you can't necessarily run over it really well. Like it is going to slow you down some at parts of this.
yeah, I would say so. So I've done it twice, and the year before, I remember it was a little bit more muddy. Like they had gotten a little bit of rain before that. So it was like kind of a mix of more like mud and rocks. And then the next year it was completely dry, and it was basically sand and then quite a bit of like rocky. And I do remember like with one of the sand, I think it was a sandbag carry, even though the course looks really flat on a map, they had like some little short, like you had to like go down a little technical hill basically, like with your sandbag, and then come back up or something, like just enough to kind of throw you off. So even though there's not much gain, like in my mind I was like, oh, these little hills are just annoying, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it's like that again.
And is there any particular strategy for running on like a dirt sands type of course like this that you guys have like figured out? Like, does it change the way you would run if it was like a rocky grassy patch versus like a sand and dirt? Or like, how have you, like, do you have a strategy for that?
The only thing I can think of is like, I guess I've been running in snow a lot lately because Colorado's just gotten a shit ton of snow in the last month. So maybe to prepare for that. But other than that, I don't really have technique. Maybe Annie does.
Yeah, the Arizona course is kind of like, there's a section of it where they send you in this like little like a canyon that's a sandy bottom, and I'd say like, I don't know, I think just kind of similar to like the muck in Jacksonville, if you can just like power through it and maybe shorten the stride a little bit, and have like a quicker turnover through it, just to basically anything you can do to just get through it quickly would be my strategy. But
and
yeah, kind of.
Would you think of it as the same way as the muck in Jacksonville, where it's like, if I fall, I don't care because it's not going to be that bad? Or is this going to be more consequential if you fall on this type of terrain? Is it more worrisome to like lose your stride on this and end up on the ground?
Well, I just remember the last time I did it, I was really beat up from it. So maybe a little bit, I would say so. Like, I just remember my family looking at my knees and my legs, and they were just like, oh my God, were you falling the whole time? Or what were you like, what were you doing? So maybe above average in that category, I would say.
Yeah, it's always a conversation. Like if you're meeting somebody and you're like wearing shorts and you just did a Spartan race or something, you're like, no, it's just this race that I do. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's go through the course now. I mean, because on the map it does look really flat. On the elevation profile, it looks like we're starting at around 1,600 feet, and the highest it's going to go is like 1,727. It looks like, and that looks like an all one shot, like one big sharp, up, like two up and downs that are going to be toward the end. So we'll touch on them when we get there. But the first mile is looking pretty fast. It looks like there's only the overwalls and the 6-foot wall are the only two obstacles that are going to be in that first mile. So when you guys are looking at this, like Annie, when you see that, like this type of start, like what do you think in terms of strategy?
I think it's just a race at that point. I think it's a race to the first set of obstacles. So go out hard and try and get a gap on whoever you're competing with. And then as soon as the obstacles come up, I think that's when like the race really begins. So if you can like put as much of a gap as you can by that point, the better you are going through it. Especially, I don't know, for some of us who like haven't really been racing for a year, might be a little bit rusty on obstacles. I think for me, like utilizing the bigger run stretches to get a gap is going to be to my advantage.
It's going to be fast. This looks like it's going to be crazy fast. And Lacey, you said when like you think this might be a similar course, but just flipped. Do you remember it being a fast start last time, or did these hills kind of really slow people down right from the jump?
I remember, I think it was a pretty fast start for the first mile or so, because I do remember we all came to the Turquoise like at the same time. Like there was probably like 6 of us there or something. And I was like, whoa. So I think, I don't know if it was exactly a reverse of this course, but I do remember the first mile or so being really fast too. Altogether, it was just a pretty fast course, like what you're saying. But it looks like they stacked some things like in a way that could kind of slow us down. Like the box and beater and Turquoise and multi-rig all being together like that might be kind of hard.
Yeah.
Just in terms of grip, you know.
I can't tell where that is quite yet in terms of like the mileage, but the second mile has some slowdown. Like you're going to get a water crossing. What's the water crossing like, Lacey? Do you remember?
I don't really remember it being much.
It's just gonna be like a creek or something.
Yeah, I think it was pretty minimal. Another thing, are we just never doing dunk walls again? Like, even though COVID can't transfer through water, we can't have a dunk wall. Like, it's an airborne virus, but we can't have a dunk wall.
I'm fine with it. I'm okay. Are you pro dunk wall? Do you look forward to the dunk wall each time? Those dunk wall photos.
This is going to be a warm race. It might feel good.
That's true. We should talk about the weather a little bit. Well, maybe at the end, just kind of like what you're thinking, like for wearing and what you're going to wear and everything. But in this second mile, it's the water crossing, the hurdles, inverted wall are right back to back. So again, once you're established after that first mile, I think once we're in there, there's not gonna be too much position change. And then rope climb, Atlas, and plate drag are back to back right before mile 2. So you have a bit of a stretch to run leading in after inverted wall into the rope climb. So knowing that, would you just kind of stay on the same pace to get to the rope, or knowing that the rope is there, would you want to conserve a little bit? What do you think you would do in that little stretch?
That is kind of a weird spot to have a rope climb, you know. It's kind of like just random. But no, I guess I try to run into them typically and pretend like they're not a huge obstacle or anything. But Annie, what do you think? Is she alive? Are you alive?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so you're talking about that first set of obstacles,
after that stretch, yeah, when you have a piece, like a good piece of running to go into the rope, like knowing the rope's there, are you going to care? Or are you just going to kind of run hard and just try to get up the rope as fast as possible, like not even worry about it?
That's a good question. I think, yeah, I don't know, probably just get up it as quick as I don't know. I don't know what the real strategy is.
It's so early at that point. I mean, when you're gassed going into a rope climb, you do have to wait a second typically, but that early in a race, like probably shouldn't be gassed, but it looks like it's going to be a fast start, you know, but you might be able to catch your breath a little bit coming after the water, the hurdles, and inverted wall, that you might not be able to catch too much steam anyway. But really in these first 2 miles, there's not much going on. And probably after plate drag is where, like, I would imagine this is, we're going to be in our respective packs at this point, right? Like where you're going to be in the race in the second mile is probably going to be who you're going to be racing the entire time. Do you agree? You think?
Yeah, I guess, but that ending little gauntlet having the spear throw right at the end. You never know. You know.
Right.
Oh, that's with me.
And then it comes up to a Z-wall, cargo, and bender. Looks like 3 in a row in mile 2, or just, I guess just 2 in a row. It looks like Z-wall and vertical cargo. How do you guys do on Z-wall? You guys, is it fine? Is it no problem? Z-wall can be a problem. Is there strategies that like you guys have? Do you find one that you like, or you just, it's no problem no matter what?
I feel like the men have more trouble on Z-wall. I think they try to go so fast through it, but I could be wrong. I just feel like females tend to not fall off it as much. Maybe we're just like a little more cautious about balancy things, but I've really rarely seen like people towards the top of the pack in the female elite wave, even when it's muddy, fall off of it. Knock on wood, I've never fallen off of it that I can remember. But I get it though, when it's really super muddy and you're trying to move, it can happen. You know, you do have to be a little extra cautious.
Yeah, and like we're gonna assume it's gonna be pretty dry at this race, right? Like it's not gonna be slick on those. So just getting through it and just don't make a mistake, right? It's good enough.
Yeah, like in Jacksonville, I could see like, I don't know, I didn't struggle on it too much, but I think I got lucky with the lane I chose. I could see some of them were like, there was just tons of mud like caked on to the foothold. So like, I don't know, like you could make a mistake and slip off pretty easily, like in that kind of race. But on these dry desert courses, I don't see it as being much of an obstacle at all.
Yeah, I agree. And then it's vertical cargo, which will have the platform, right? In a super.
Yeah, I think it should. What I know.
So. Does that, so the first time, the first 2 times I did the platform, I had no problem. The third time was Seattle in 2019, and it was like later in the race, and I tried to jump up on it, and it was raining, and I like slid, and immediately like my feet didn't come up, and it swung me back underneath it, and I just landed flat on my back really hard and just like staring at the sky. So this is like can be a problem, and people have burpeed out, like top level male athletes I know have burpeed out of that platform thing.
I remember that in Seattle, actually, like multiple girls, like I think it was like me, Natalie, a couple other people, but we were kind of struggling with that too. I don't know if it's just when it was super wet, but we were like sticking to the ground a little more or something. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it can be hard. It's not that simple. And that was in that race on the men's side, at least Johnny Luna Lima was like right there and couldn't get over it and like couldn't make the pass on Ryan Kent. I remember it was like it can change the race. Do you guys have a strategy for that like platform wall?
I feel like the only strategy I've really had is just to give a good run at it and try to get it on the first try, because you can absorb a lot of energy, like in that one Seattle race, doing it multiple times in general, just kind of like any wall. But yeah, that's not a fantastic strategy, but that's what I got.
Just cross your finger, hope for the best. So you'll run up with it, and will you jump off of 2 feet and then just try to get your hands flat down on the table, or like
yeah, I think I tried just grabbing it with one hand and then like matching with my hand and then pulling myself up. But basically just getting that running start is the main thing.
Yeah. Andy, do you have anything just like stick out to you at all?
I do the same thing. I think unless you're one of like the really shorter women, the platform on vert cargo really isn't super high. So like, I mean, I just kind of like muscle up, like, yeah, push off with my hands. I don't even do the like shelf thing. I have though practiced doing a flip on it just in case like it came down to like if it was super slick or something. I've practiced that, and that's another good strategy. Like if you think that it's going to be slick, just go for the flip, and it's kind of fun too.
So you're saying like you get underneath it and like have your hands like your palms facing your hands and grabbing onto the bar, right? Is this how we're doing it? And then like you just at a bent with your arms bent, you're going to jump your hips up kind of and pull against the bar. Like, am I explaining this right at all? Like you pulling yourself down against the bar and trying to lift your hips up so that your knees and feet end up on top of the platform, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've never tried that. Lacey, have you tried that?
No. I can kind of envision what you're saying though. Like that sounds like it could work. But no, I've never tried it.
Hopefully it won't be a thing when it's dry here. And you can just kind of get up it on one shot getting over that. But it is something to think about because it is going to be there. And it's not just it's a simple vertical cargo to get up.
Yeah, you're gonna jinx it now and it's gonna rain like the day you keep saying how dry it's gonna be.
And then and we've talked about it. So, to do the flip technique, we're fine. Everybody's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody listening is fine. So then that takes you to mile. Right. Then you have bender, which again is just getting over, no problem. And then it's mile 3. So it's about the halfway point. Then you have a couple walls. Then you have Olympus at 13. How do you guys do with Olympus?
I've only done this one like once. I think Tahoe was the only time. So I remember it being a lot harder than usual.
Really?
The new one's hard.
Yeah.
Have you done
you mean like a newer one since this year? Like they changed Olympus?
I think they changed it midway through 2019. It used to be like the new one is angled a little bit like more vertical, and it's now covered with like a plastic tarp kind of, and where it used to be wood, so you can get up and you would stick on it. Okay, now it's like a kind of a slippery like tarp material.
Okay, I think I did see some comments about this, but I wasn't sure if I had done that version of Olympus before or not. I'm guessing I probably have, but I have had problems with it when it's been super muddy. Like Seattle, Chicago, I think I've fallen off of it a couple times. It's probably been a while, but sometimes it's just holding on when you have, like, I don't get how people hang from that with no knees or no feet planted on the obstacle. I think that's like incredible. I'm like, how are you just holding your 90, like dangling from that? But that's probably the best way to do it if your feet are super muddy and there's so much mud on the obstacle,
So you're saying if you can't, because this new one, it seems hard to get your feet on. Like Andy, when you did it in Tahoe, were you able to stick your feet onto it, or were you going knees?
No, I put my knees into it just to like brace myself, but they weren't like, it's not the same feeling of like having your feet like secure on it. You're kind of just, you're relying way more on your grip and your like whole upper body to just like carry you through it.
And it also kind of hurts on your knees. Like when you get on your feet, like it feels like you're fine and it feels like more natural, but on your knees, it hurts.
Yeah, it tears them up.
Yeah. So
but that's interesting. Annie, did most people do it on their knees then throughout Jacksonville too?
It wasn't in the sprint.
It wasn't in the sprint.
Oh, gotcha. So this is just Tahoe the previous year that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the only time I've done the like new plastic one.
Okay.
And the other thing was like just it being super cold in Tahoe made it harder in general because like a lot of us had just come out of the burpees from the spear throw. Like at least I did, and I remember my hands being like totally numb going into that. So it could have just been like all of that on top of each other, which is what made it so hard. But again, I'd imagine like in this desert, like warm weather race, it will be like one of the harder obstacles, but not anything crazy. If it's dry,
Yeah, and that's on the super on the Saturday at Jacksonville for the people who ran. It was a problem. It was like a lot of people were missing that. If anybody missed anything, it happened to be Olympus. But yeah, being hopefully dry without rain, without the cursed rain, will you guys go holds, chains, holds? What do you like for going through it?
Holds.
Yeah, typically holds too for me.
Both
I guess
the
there's
holds,
been,
are we saying holes or holds, like rock climbing holds, rock holds?
I guess I've done both. I remember someone telling me that holes are the fastest, you know, because you like cross your arms over the next and you can move through it pretty quickly. But sometimes if they're too low, they kind of freak me out. Like if it's a slicker course or if there's mud or something on the obstacle, then I would probably go for the holds because they're higher. But
Yeah. I've gone back and forth. I don't think I've ever used the chains, but back in the day, like I only used the holes. And then like I want to say in Tahoe, I used both the holes and like climbing holds.
Yeah. The first time I ever did this was in Tahoe when I first rolled it out, whatever year that was, 16 or 17. And it was dry there. So, and if you use the chains, you just like have to grab and match. And like, yeah, because the holes you can cross over and you can go really fast. The chains are too far. The rock holds are in funny spots, so you can't really cross them. But the chains were super easy that first year, and I was like, "This is the easiest obstacle I've ever been on in my entire life." And the next year, I went in New Jersey and tried to do the same thing, and it was super humid and wet. I slipped right off the first chain, and I've had problems with this stupid freaking Olympus ever since. So I think And what's nice about it at this one, like there's some space to run after Bender, but not a ton. And then you have 7-foot walls like directly in front of Olympus. So you can come to that wall and get over it. And that one shouldn't be too taxing. And then you might have some time to kind of catch your breath. So you're not going to be coming into this thing full steam. And seeing that wall, you can kind of prepare to be like, okay, here it comes. Like, let's make sure we're getting through this. And then right after it's pipe layer, which is tricky pipe layer. We'll keep the secrets of pipe layer close to the chest, and we'll just skip over this one so no one can get the gains that you guys are going to get on it. But then Twister is right after that, and that's right before mile 4. So there's a couple of grip things before this. I mean, Bender's a little grippy, and Olympus is not too far in front of this. Do you think Twister will be a challenge?
I guess only if like your grip was really worn out, or again, like wet obstacles for the most part. I don't think I'm necessarily like really fast over Twister or anything. I think I'm actually like one of the slower people, but I guess I've only had problems really when conditions have been poor. Yeah.
I've had trouble with if it's like late or something. And anything with Twister? Any comments? Just getting through it?
Yeah, just get through it. I don't typically have any issue with Twister. I think I struggle more, like as far as grip obstacles go. I think beater is the one that like I've definitely failed it like once or twice, like when they first introduced it, just because like if it's wet and you like don't know what you're doing, it can totally, like if you don't realize you need a ton of momentum, it can totally just like whip you off. But Twister, I think, I don't know, I don't find too much challenge with it.
Yeah, so just through that, and then a little bit, then you're through mile 4, so you got 2 miles left at this point, and then you got Stairway to Sparta, again, just getting through, and then you'll have the box, which can be a problem. Annie, what's your approach with box?
A good question. I struggled so hard on box the first time I did it. I think it took me like a dozen tries. Like I was there for minutes. It was wet and like cold that day, and I eventually like got some practice on it, and now I think I almost always like find one of the lanes that there's like a knot at the end of the rope, and then I'll just like do it as if it's a rope climb, and then swing. Like luckily long monkey arms, and I can just swing and catch that bar once I'm towards the top. But I don't do any of that like funny feet first business.
So you'll grab as high as you can on a rope that has a knot at the bottom and jump up and get your feet on that knot, and then be able to stay there. And then you'll be able to reach over and grab the bar. Yeah. Cool. That makes sense. Yeah. Cause when people start trying to throw their foot up, then they're upside down. Yeah. That I don't even know how people get up on that. Like good for them. Lacey, are you one of those people that get up that way? How do you get up over box?
Well, okay. Recently I did this obstacle course in the Springs, this, one that's out on a ranch, and she has the box obstacle for you to practice, but none of the ropes have knots in them. So, and one day there was like snow on the ground. So literally that was the only way to get up, was to like lock your leg, like climb the rope a little, lock your leg over it. I guess it was good practice, but it's pretty miserable doing it that way. So I think Annie's right, where you just have to kind of hop up on that knot and then try to reach over the bar. But sometimes I can't reach the bar, so I do have to use my leg to like lock it into place and kind of get over it. I think shorter people have a little bit harder of a time reaching it, you know?
This one's a little bit harder for the female race for sure. For that reason, just on the height of things. And a lot of times the upper body, the vertical pulling that the men can have strength and just kind of pull themselves up and then kind of lock the rope to their chest and then just do the reach. So if you can actually find a knot that's high enough that you can kind of leverage on that way and you feel comfortable enough pulling yourself up, I mean, it's pretty taxing because you can't really do anything here with momentum. Like you can't like run at this thing.
Yeah, it's so awkward.
So awkward. I thought this was going to be another silly one, like pipe layer, because it came at the same time. But box is hard.
It's legit for sure. Just like Annie, I failed it a couple times too. The first couple times I introduced it, I was like, "How in the hell do I get over this fucking box?"
Yeah, I didn't even know what to tell people. It was like, I don't know. I got no idea how to do this. And then beater and beater. You know, like Annie said, just getting your momentum going. And they change, right? It's not always the same sequence of like spinny bar.
Right.
So when you guys run up to this, Annie, since like you said, you have a little bit more trouble, will you run up and like stare at this for a minute? Will you like to look at it and see and map it out in your head first?
If it's dry, probably not. I'll probably just take the risk and hope I don't fall off. But like it pass when it's been wet for sure. Like you want to make sure you know what you're doing and kind of like visualize going through it for a second before hopping on, because I don't know. It's just one of those ones that can trip you up.
And if you're stuck, if you miss and like you're dangling, like what are you gonna do? Like, you know, you have to like lâcher or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Any issues with beater, Lacey, or any tips on that?
Very similar to what Annie's saying. I did notice like you can't lose your momentum in those first couple moves there. Otherwise you are like, what am I going to do now? And I did fail it once too. I don't remember where. It might have been Jacksonville. Was that when they introduced it in 2019?
That was like an unfair one too. It was like a really, really long reach. I think only Nicole got through it, or like, really? I think so. Like she won by a ton that year, but I think Ashley Heller got through that, but like there was like some chicken winging going on, and the reach was really, really long. And Ashley's a little bit taller. Yeah, that they haven't had one that difficult since.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to tell myself I just got that much better at it, but thanks.
No, it's just been easier.
It just got easier. Okay.
It's been easier. You're the same. No, so this is an interesting little stretch then it's all in this 1 mile. There's 3 obstacles in 1 mile from 4 to 5, and it's Stairway to Sparta, which is nothing, but then box and beater. So there can be a little bit of a shakeup here. What do you think in terms of racing? you would do in this part? Just, is there any merit to try to get through these faster, or would you go even more cautious so that you don't make a mistake heading into like the last 2 miles where it's going to be really obstacle heavy? Like, how do you think about this little stretch?
I think it'll be interesting because that's quite a bit of grip in a short amount of time too. Well, if you include Twister, not being that far behind it.
Right.
Yeah. So I think I would probably be a little more on the conservative side just because that's usually how I am. And you still have a bucket carry up ahead, so which isn't much grip, but you know, just strength overall and monkey bars. But yeah, that might be a challenging area. I think we'll probably see some lead changes, maybe. Who knows?
I think so. Andy, what do you think about this type of stretch when it comes to racing?
Yeah, it definitely, like, I don't know. On paper, it looks exciting to me. Like, this is what I like to see in a race, is like all of these back to back, but just not having done it in a while, it like also makes me nervous because like also right after that you got Turquoise, multi-rig, which both of those are very grip intensive. And then after that it's kind of like more strength stuff, but I think there's a chance that we get pumped and like you see some mistakes happen in there, like if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be some of the strategies that I guess we'll talk about, is like, how do you want to run in between these? Like, because if you make a tactical choice to be aggressive, you can probably create some space. If people are looking at it how we're looking at it, where it's like, well, I know there's like 4 or 5 things here in a row, and if I need to rest through between these obstacles. If someone chooses to be aggressive and taking that risk, like and then if it's something like box, like, and if you get to box before somebody and then get past it, like you're literally gone. It's such a slow obstacle, and like visually you'll be out of sight.
Yeah.
But it's a risk. There's a couple more things that will be right there.
Yeah. Do you guys know, are they doing penalty laps for any other obstacles? Like, I know in Jacksonville, they just did it for the spear, right?
That's right about Jackson. I haven't heard.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
This map came out like 2 minutes ago. They like, I was like, did they cancel this race?
I thought that too. I was like, where the heck is it? Yeah. Hello. I remember for Big Bear they had.
For the penalty.
What was that, Annie?
I was just saying, I hope they do penalty loops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember in Big Bear when they had a penalty loop for 8-foot box? Well, it was like a penalty climb, to be honest. They were like, instead, you're gonna climb 100 meters.
It was like another ski hill that you had to go.
I failed the box because I was just, I don't know what was wrong with me. I didn't feel well and I was just like doing terrible. But I failed the box and I was like the only one on the penalty climb. I was like, yep, it's just me. I'm still out here.
They don't make those loops easy. They're not, those penalty loops are like some of the harder stuff. Like the Jacksonville one's nasty. I did one in North Carolina in November 2019. It was a nightmare. It was so muddy and it took so long. I almost was like, I would be done with burpees by now. Like they don't make it easy. Yeah. So, but I haven't heard. So yeah, 19, and then so you're in the mile 5 and like, yeah, you have Turquoise and multi-rig back to back. Yeah, this is an interesting race. I kind of like the way this is kind of laid out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely some potential for anybody to take different placements in those areas. And who knows, with that spear right at the end, I feel like anything can happen.
I know. So yeah, I'll just gripe about this now. This is such an interesting, fun part about this race, that there can be so many cool tactics that can take place, and you can really show like expertise through obstacles, and then it gets to the spear, and like it can all be thrown out the window.
Yeah.
So I wish it was earlier. I wish the spear was earlier.
Me too.
But so, and here's another part that is interesting about that little stretch, is that you do have now after multi-rig, A-frame, and then it's bucket carry. So if you do decide to be more on the conservative end through this like gauntlet of obstacle and then with some running, and you can maybe decide to save it for bucket and be like, I'm just going to get through this and be conservative. When I get this carry, I'm just going to hammer this thing.
Yeah. I think that's a good insight. I guess I didn't think about it that way. Like if you have a lot left, use it on that bucket carry.
Yeah. And if you choose to hammer throughout this part, like you're probably going to just need to survive it, but you might give yourself enough of a cushion that you won't be able to be caught. It looks like a pretty long bucket. I'm assuming it's that little loop. And where are we now in terms of it's at the top of that hill. Okay, so we didn't mention this. After beater, you climb to multi-rig. Okay, so this looks almost like a switchback. Am I looking at that right? Yeah, after Herc hoist, you climb up to multi-rig, and then you keep climbing until you get to A-frame, and the bucket could be like up and down.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that could be a nasty bucket. That might be up and down a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
So something else to think about if you are waiting for a little bit of a hill. I mean, it's not a huge hill, but I mean, it's late in the race. It looks pretty steep. I don't know. Yeah, because at the end of this gauntlet of obstacles, like you have a hill there with bucket at the top.
Yeah.
Huh. We'll have to talk about that. We'll have to figure out like what that kind of looks like. Yeah, but that's something just where there could be some strategy involved in like where you want to go, and like because this bucket might be hard enough that everybody might just be surviving it.
I agree. We'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah. Then you got tire flip again at the top. It looks like you run down a hill after bucket. Or do you think that is the bucket? Do you think that is the bucket carry? Like, can you guys see this on the elevation map? How it drives? Like, I know your maps are pretty weak on your end, but it like number 22 looks like it dips directly down and then it goes back up. That might be the bucket carry.
It looks pretty steep.
You might lose and gain. You might lose, like start at 1727 and go down to back under 1650. This might be like a really steep, nasty bucket carry.
It could be, just because from what I remember from that course, like I said, it almost looked like they made like man-made little hills in some parts of it. Because I'm like, where is this like super steep little tiny hill coming from? Like I just remember they didn't really look natural. I was like, what are these? So I could see maybe them putting up bucket carry up one of those or something around that area. Because I remember like one of the sandbag carries, it was hard to keep it on my back because like the terrain was kind of loose and it was pretty steep. So that's possible.
So if this is a really steep carry, it's probably gonna be hard to gain ground, which would then the earlier parts, you probably want to either keep contact or be aggressive, unless you're really confident in like how well you can climb with a bucket.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that might be interesting.
We'll figure it out. At the top we have, and then it looks like just tire flip and you head down a hill, and then it's like then you're in the last mile, where you're just going to get this last gauntlet of barbed wire crawl, slip wall. They got to change the slip wall if there's no water, right, Lacey? You can't just really make it extra slippery somehow.
It's just too easy. Maybe they'll like pour buckets of water down it or something.
Just like guys at the top.
One of the volunteers is like, let's make it nice and slippery.
So you come out of slip wall, and then you have spear throw. So it's the third to last obstacle is the spear throw. I don't love it for this course. Sometimes I guess I don't mind it, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I hate it.
Yeah.
There's just no
too much pressure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you, Annie? It seems like a lot of people have been failing their spear throw these last couple of races, though. Is the spear throw any different or anything? Like any differences you noticed from previous?
You broke up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All good. Does the spear seem any different to you?
The one thing that was different is they have like, I don't know. So I ran the super course in Jacksonville, like for fun. And I tried out multiple spears, and some of them were significantly heavier than others. Like some have this like circular, I don't know what you call it, like around the metal part, like almost like a big like washer kind of. So if you hit the spear like directly on, those ones actually stick really well. Like it actually becomes really hard to pull it out of the foam if you hit it with one of those heavier ones. And then some of them were just the regular spears, which like, in my opinion, there's like greater room for error with the other ones because they're not as top heavy. So like, even if you hit it on like a weird angle, it usually sticks, versus the heavier one. Like if you hit it and the tip is going up, it's probably going to bounce back out. So maybe like, I don't know if it'll be the same thing here, but just pay attention to that and like realize that if it is heavier, like make sure you got a good balance on it.
Oh, sure. So you mean with the heavier ones, if you stick it, it's good, but it pops out easier with that washer top type of thing
Exactly.
going on?
Yeah, I didn't like those ones just because like I suck at spear throw, and like a lot of times when I throw it, it will like hit, but it's not like pretty. And so when I was hitting it with that one, like a lot of times it would just fall out. So just be aware of that.
Good to know.
That is good to know. It's good that you practiced and took that time and like were able to figure out like.
Yeah.
So I mean, just take your time. I mean, at this point, like I don't know what the point of being rushing unless you are literally next to somebody else. But I think everyone would probably be taking their time at this point. Just do whatever like your regular cadence is. I wouldn't change anything for this.
Yeah.
Third to last obstacle. And then monkey bars, because it looks like there's probably 300 meters to the finish line. So it's either do your burpees as hard as you possibly can and then just get up and go. But then, yeah, I mean, then the monkey bars might make that a little bit tougher. And then that's it. So overall, what do you guys think? What do you think of the course?
I think it'll be interesting. I guess I don't really love it, but at least if we're burping at the end of the race by the finish line, well, there's no spectators, so no one's going to be watching you burpee and run to the finish line. I always think that's the worst. Like when you have an obstacle that you fail right at the finish line, and then people are like, "Go, keep going," and you're like, "I'm doing burpees. Like this is miserable and I'm embarrassed," So that's one plus.
The one year at Tahoe, where the race was like 17 miles long, one year they made it super long. So by the end I was just dead, and I failed like 3 obstacles in a row, and like my mom and dad came out, my brother was there, and they just watched me do 90 burpees. They're like sitting there for like 5 minutes just watching me do burpees over and over.
They like run out of phrases to say, and they're like, "You look strong. You look good."
It's like I can't even lie. Yeah, you look so bad now after all these burpees that we're just gonna meet you at the bar. Annie, what do you think of the course?
I like it actually. I think I like that there's this like gauntlet mid race where you might see a lot of like, you know, changing of places, like because of all the grip intensity. And I don't know. I wish there was like some stuff earlier on, just because it's going to be a painfully fast first mile, which freaks me out a little bit. But otherwise, I think I like it. And then I don't know, the spear. I have this thing where like, I'm pretty sure anytime they put the spear throw in one of these like heavily trafficked areas, I always miss it. Like I always make my spear when it's off in the middle of nowhere and no one's watching. Like the time perfectly, and like in the last second of a race, I'm like, I just have like too much pressure on me, I think, and it just it all falls apart. So I'm hoping to break that.
Well, that's what Lacey said too, though. There's not going to be that many people there. Not that many spectators. So only a few people. Like I've run up to spears before, whereas like it's in a somewhat spectator friendly, like you had to like kind of go out of your way to get there. But people sit there and watch it like it's golf. Like they don't sit, they just wait until you throw it and then they cheer after you make it or not. So they're like dead silent looking at you throw in the thing. It's like, man, I hope I hit this. Cool. Yeah, I like, I'm with you, Annie. I like, this is how I wish more of the courses were set up. I mean, logistically, I think they just need to like cluster the obstacles fairly often, just when there's open space, since, you know, a lot of times we're running through like technical stuff or like on the side of a mountain, they can't get obstacles to a place. But it seems like, they're just able to lay these out in a succession that allows some running in between. And it's not so much running and, or all obstacle clusters all in one shot. So I like it as well. Cool. So let's wrap it up. So guys, I appreciate you joining me today. We'll do a recap next week just to let everybody know how it went. I'm sure it's going to go fantastic. Cool. Anything else you guys want to add?
I don't think so. Good luck, Annie. I'll see you in a couple days.
Yes, looking forward to it. Thanks, Rich.
All right, cool. I'm just going to stop recording and then we'll stay here for 1 sec. See you.